Good morning, lovelies. Inquiring Minds want to know. Let's talk about it. Jesus, coffee. So, I heard a great message yesterday from Pastor Rutt, digging into Acts 1. But it's so prevalent to today and believers today. And that's what's beautiful about the word is not only was it prevalent and not only was it relevant to back then, but relevant to today. So I kind of want to go through a couple of the passages and give you some context. Because in here, he's actually writing about the happenings of Jesus. So at this point in time, just to go through the timeline, he'd already been born, lived his life, was crucified, buried, resurrected, and this is prior to his ascension. You're actually going to see his ascension happen here, but this is critical, and he's been walking around being observed by others. In his 40 days of walking around being observed by hundreds and hundreds of people. So Jesus being assembled with his disciples commanded them not to leave Jerusalem. So I want to go in and start from 4 to verse 10. So, and being assembled together with them, he commanded them not to depart from Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which, he said, you have heard from me. For John truly baptized with water, but you shall be baptized with the Holy Spirit not many days from now. So we hear that, I'm sure we would have been like, so Jesus, really, we're getting the Holy Spirit? Like when? When are we getting the Holy Spirit? When? Like, what time? Like tomorrow? Like Saturday, Sunday? I love Jesus' response. Therefore, when they had come together, they asked him, saying, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? Because it's like, is that the promise? Like the kingdom's going to come down to Israel? Like, and he said to him, and this is so true now, guys. It's so true. Those of us that get focused on Revelation and we get so focused on where are we in end times and is this? Listen to what he says. This is so critical. It is not for you to know times or seasons which the Father has put into his own authority. It's not for you to know. The Father knows. Jesus knows, as he's telling them, he knows, but it's not for them to know. One of my favorite words in the Bible. Because when this word gets dropped, your ears need to open because some wisdom's about to get dropped and something important's about to get dropped, especially when it came out of Jesus' mouth. But you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. So, did you pick up what he said there? So they're worried about, hey, when is the kingdom coming? When is the kingdom coming to Israel? Are we going to restore the kingdom? Like clock watching, like when's this going to happen? He says it's not for you to know, but power will come upon you. So you're going to receive the Holy Spirit. And the important part, it's not for you to know, but it is for you to share the gospel. What's not for you is needing to know the time that things will happen. But what is for you is go share the gospel. Relevant 2,000 years ago, relevant to today. When the thief comes, when Jesus returns and raptures his church, which is the next thing that's coming in the timeline, it's the next event in the timeline. When he comes in the thief, and he's going to come like a thief in the night. It's going to be in the blink of an eye. So if you know when a thief's coming, you're going to be ready, right? You're going to have your house ready, right? That's when you know it's coming. But what did he say? It's not for you to know. Why? Good morning, Judy. Because when you don't know, you're going to stay in a state of readiness. You're going to stay prepared. And that's what we are to do, is to stay in a state of readiness, to stay prepared. Not focus on what are the events. Well, this is happening, and this is happening, and this is happening. Take that energy and step out of your comfort zone and share the gospel. Because it's what he calls us to do. His last command before he left the earth was, go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them all that I've commanded you. Sharing the gospel. That's what it is time for us to do. It's not for us to know when he's going to return. He knows that. But it is time for us to step out. And I want you to pray about that. Look for the open door, because God's going to open one for you. When you pray and he opens it, step in it. Don't step back. Don't shrink back in fear. Because guys, it's not personal. You share the gospel. They're not rejecting you. If they choose not to accept Jesus, you've shared the gospel with them. You've shared the truth with them. They're not rejecting you. Don't take it personally. They're rejecting him. And I promise you, he's going to take it personal. Because when things happen, when we go down that road, there will be a white throne of judgment. That will be the last event before eternity in the timeline of the church. Pentecost has already happened. That's already been fulfilled. We are sealed with the Holy Spirit. That happened at Pentecost. That happened at Jesus' ascension. That's what he was saying right here. Don't miss that. That was Pentecost that happened right there. We are indwelt with the Holy Spirit. And what we get to do is step in and share the gospel. Pray about it. And guys, it's not comfortable. God pushes us, wants us to step out of our comfort zones. My recommendation, pray Ephesians 6, verses 19 and 20. And I'll post them. Something I prayed a lot, because what Paul's actually asking there, matter of fact, let's go to Ephesians 6. Let's turn to Ephesians 6 and go through it, because probably one of my favorite passages. So, Ephesians 6, 19 and 20. And for me, that utterance may be given to me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, that in it I may speak boldly, as I ought to speak. You hear that? I may speak boldly as I ought to. What's ought? Ought's a command. Ought's something you should do. So Paul's telling us right there, as I ought to speak. Paul didn't have a job for God. That wasn't his job. So that's not why he was saying, I ought to speak. We all are Paul. We all have that calling on our life. That's why Jesus commanded that. Go therefore and make disciples. We are to share the gospel. Pick up what he was telling the disciples there. It's not time for you to know, but you'll receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you. You will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you. And you are to be an ambassador, just like Paul was an ambassador in chains. Pray Ephesians 6, 19 through 20. And take your opportunity and pray. Look for an opportunity to share the gospel. If we all go out and share the gospel, guys, this is the time. We all go out and share the gospel, who knows what will happen in the world. But we have to do it. Don't think, hey, somebody should. When you think somebody should, you ought to go look in a mirror and say that. Because the one looking back at you is the one that should be stepping out in boldness and sharing the gospel. I love you guys. I know he loves you. Let's go do what he calls us to do. Let's do it. Really, just step out and share. We'll talk about what Dad wants to talk about on Monday. Who knows? Love you guys.